a spike up in this. So these things can go hit or miss. Oftentimes when companies are just getting smoked out like this, they'll come up with some PR that says like, "Hey, we're gonna sell off this. We're gonna sell off this big, smelly Blumpkin laced with cyanide, and all is good, right?" And then all of a sudden, you pick up this big, hairy, cyanide-filled Blumpkin, and then you're looking at it and you're saying, "Should I eat it? Should I not eat it?" Before you know it, you're eating poop and you've been poisoned. That's what happens. So I'm not probably trusting this bounce, but it could go either way. Definitely probably worth something on the watch. You got to let the trend set on this. Guys, CRC got smoked yesterday. There must have been some news out end of day. We were all watching it in the chat room, just jerking each other off. And then like 2 people took it, right? Like we're watching, we're like, oh, it's going down. And then it's like, oh man, it's going down a little bit more. Oh man, it's going down a little bit more. And before you know it, it's gone down a lot. Now you're starting to gap up on this thing. So when you gap it up on this thing a little bit over here, you definitely you can re-roll over. That's just the nature of the game. So you can re-roll this thing over, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing go green to red. That typically happens. That typically happens a lot. So let's watch for the green to red on this one. The SSR will be on it. So first, number 1, check your borrows. It should be easy to borrow. Number 2, the SSR is on it. So if you do try to short it, you got to hit into a spike. But you can't just hit it into a spike while it's going up. You got to hit a lower high, and then it'll be fine. So just be mindful. When you get a stock that's got bad news out, yeah, so we just gotta kind of let this thing make lower highs before you short in. That's the best thing to do with the SSR. SSR is really hard to get filled, but if you just start shortening the lower highs, you're good to go. All right, so just be mindful of that. PCG's got some news out here. It's already starting to trend in the pre-market. This one looks totally fine. It's just a matter of, it's got to break under these MAs. So I watched at 11 spot. If you can get under 11, I think that this one will work just fine. It's just got to break under there. Then you're going to be good to go. And then Roku caught a downgrade. Shocker, right? They always come in at the tail end. Analysts are they're always the last man to the gangbang, right? It's always upgrading everything. Always upgrade everything at the top and downgrading at the bottom. Who knows? So they caught downgrade. If it can hold under this kind of 128, which also coincides with your support on the daily, then we can look at this for a potential short. So what you want to be doing is always kind of go to different time frames and stuff. 128.30, 128.30. Also that 50 SMA. If we lose that, then that's going to be a little bit of confirmation. We could take this thing down again. Now look, if it rips back over 128.50, then all of a sudden this is just a shake and bake kind of downgrade. Let some people get in, and then it's off to the races again. It had good range yesterday. Went from 127, 134 back to 129. Up to 134, so it's a tradable range, if anything. You can definitely roll with that bad boy. Those are it for the gappers that I see. I don't see anything else I like, unless you guys see anything here. There's some of these Indian banks popping up, but I mean, honestly, do we really want to trade some random Indian bank? Chart looks okay. It's just a matter of will it have liquidity? A lot of times they don't. But both HDB and IBN, which are like the two biggest banks in India, they're gapping up. But you see with all these spaces here, ADRs can trade a little bit weird. So let's talk about the regular watch list. JNUG's a daily trader for us, right? Watch this 70 mark. If it can get over this 70, that's what releases it back to 200. But it very well could also turn into a bear flag. This setting is hot. You got a flat top breakout here. Now, the flat top breakout is a little bit loose, so you couldn't really swing this because your 9 EMA is like at 82, so it's $7 away. But we definitely have, we definitely have like a nice range on this thing. You can see this thing move like $6, $7 right at the open. Then you had a flag pattern off the VWAP that it took out for another $4. That's the type of stock that, essentially we want to play. It's got the good range on it. Be mindful on this one. If we see any weakness on this, then I'm going to try to long it. But if I see a big push at the open, I'm not going to long this. And the reason is you're right at the top of the Bollinger Band and you're getting a little bit long in the tooth here. So like strength, I'm actually looking to fade this thing off, back into this range. But if I get big weakness on it today, I'll look for a 1, 2, 3 pattern or some type of red to green, and we'll take this thing higher. NDST. Docu still looks okay, man. This thing is, it needs to tighten up a little bit more. Let's see how the 9 EMA is still a couple dollars away. I think dun, 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 dun. Just let it tighten up. You know what? Take that off the focus list. Ping, ping. Bing, bong. This had a nice breakout into the close. Like, it actually had 11 million shares in volume. Now, these IPO stocks, the volume has been, like, dying out of them. So, today, if it doesn't fire off, like, 1 or 2 million shares in the first hour, I'll probably leave it alone. Because a lot of days they come out, and then you'll see like the next day they'll have like 1 or 2 million shares in volume for the whole day, and it's like totally untradeable. If anybody's watching NVST yesterday, 10 million shares in volume, and then what happened is like yesterday we're watching this thing, and it was like 100,000 shares was like we're going off like every 30 minutes, and we're like, it's fucking untradeable. The spread was 30 cents. It's just too tricky. So I need to see that flow coming in for liquidity purposes. Because if you don't have the liquidity, then what happens is you end up being able to buy like 100 shares of this stuff, right? So don't even be mindful of that. Crowd had a nice flush on this thing yesterday. It just ran into resistance. You had like a $5 range on this thing. Not $5, about $4.50 or $4.25, which is still pretty good. Watch for a continuation of this. Like it's nuzzled against its 9 EMA in the daily, so it could just roll back. And, we've got room down to like 63. You're starting to open up strong on this thing. If this thing goes green to red, it's all good. Bum, 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 bum. Now, OSTK opened it up strong. Guys, this thing has been notorious for like, yesterday it just bounced off the VWAP and rip. It pull back and rip. But like if you chase it on strength, it's been fading off. It's due for a bounce, but I've also been saying that for like 4 days. Granted, we've been catching like kind of 50, 60 cents on it at a time on the bounce side. But my thinking still holds. As long as this holds, 15-ish, like it's got a chance to bounce. Not much, maybe to like 19, 20, but I think like we're just like real close to catching one of those $1 or $2 rips on this thing. It's just a matter of us taking small gains till we get to the bigger one. I like that one though. This one moves pretty well too. The volume's in it. It's just rotating and flotating and all that kind of stuff every single day. I don't like the strong open on it. I would have rather it open weak and gone red to green. But watch like this level here. You can see like this 1650 has been important the last few days. It was acting as support a few days before. Now it's acting as resistance. That's going to be, if we can start busting over that area, you're going to see a whole new side to OSTK. So you got 1650 as kind of, and then you've got a little bit of action at 1670s. That's going to be, when we get that going, we're ready to roll. And then that's it. So focus play, CRC, MDR, Roku, setting, crowd, OSTK, and then my favorite today is the CGC. This thing had $2.50 range. Also, this thing moved clean, right? So when you're looking at a trade and you're like looking at the daily chart and you're like, oh, this thing got smoked, it's got room to fall, right? Well, what you want to always do is say, like, did this thing move clean? So what do we teach in class, guys? We have different patterns that we teach, right? So we have intraday bear flags. We have pullbacks to EMAs, 9 EMA, 20 EMA, VWAP. So I want to always see, like, did the patterns that we use, that we like to trade, actually follow through on this stock, right? So we had a bear flag coming in here. Then what do we have here? 9 EMA pullback, rebound. We had a 20 EMA, a pullback, and flush. So it's reacting to like what we like to do. So I think that when you have something like that, that's when you got the heat on this thing. All right. So let's get rolling. Let's go do what we do. Let's have a little fun. And man, there's a lot of action going on in the market. We just got to go out and get it, right? So let's have some fun. It's Friday. Do not screw up. Do not screw up, right? Do not screw up. I repeat, do not screw up. There's no better way to ruin your week than screwing up on a Friday. I'll be in the Bulls on Wall Street chat room till noon. Then we have market recap. We have trade recap at 12, guys. And by the way, I've been posting the trade recaps on the on-demand bootcamp page. So spend your weekend, guys, right? Watching them, learning from them. When you guys hang out, right, and we're trading live, like, that's fun. But you want to spend your weekends going through the lessons of the day, and then, of course, our trade recaps, because that's where the real nuggets are, right? That's where the real nuggets are. All right? Rock and roll. Let's have some fun.